So you're not inconsistent, despite how it may look. You're just operating at different capacity levels. And I'm going to explain why your performance, your patience, your personality all seem to change depending on the circumstances. And why that has nothing to do with discipline or your character or anything like that. So if you think about the version of you that shows up when you're at your best, when you're clear and you're energized, we call this the fire version. You can make decisions quickly, you can communicate with precision, you can move quickly through complex problems, you're present, you make great choices, you are engaging, you're charismatic, you're thinking several steps ahead, and you just feel like you at your best. You are a high performer. Now, if you think about the version of you that shows up when your system is overloaded, everything is slower, decisions drag, you overthink conversations, you ruminate on things, you catastrophize, your emotional responses feel slightly out of proportion to what actually triggered them, or maybe on the flip side, you have no response at all. You lose patience, you go quietly into rooms where usually you have something to say, where usually you can stand a lead. It all just starts to fall apart a little bit. You still get the work done, but you're not at your best. Most people will interpret that gap between the two versions as a character flaw, as inconsistency, as unreliability, mood swings, or too sensitive, too this, too that. But what's actually happening, it's not fluctuating personality, because it doesn't happen dramatically, particularly in people that are wired like you. It's capacity. Like, your nervous system controls the allocation of cognitive resources, the allocation of emotional resources, of energetic resources, all of that stuff. When your capacity is high, your prefrontal cortex, so the part of your brain that's responsible for decision making, strategic thinking, emotional regulation, all of that stuff, it's fully online, it's working, and you have access to everything that makes you exceptional, everything that makes you a high performer. But when your capacity drops, your brain starts to shift into energy conservation mode, like mine's doing now. It reduces the resources that are available to you, and that prefrontal cortex basically starts to switch off. It prioritizes survival functioning instead of performance functioning. All of that executive functioning that you usually need starts to degrade. Everything slows down. You can't make decisions, you can't move fast. Everything that should feel natural just feels like a fight. You have to feel like you're pushing through the resistance. And it's not a weakness, it's your nervous system doing exactly what it's been designed to do. It's protecting you by reserving energy when your resources are starting to get depleted. And the problem with that mechanism is that it was designed for short-term survival, not the kind of sustained high performance that life requires. The shift back to your high capacity baseline starts through three things. The first thing is identifying what your capacity baseline actually looks like. What does the fire look like to you? Not the average version of you, the full capacity version, you when you are at your best, because that gives you a clear point of reference. Second, it's learning to recognize the early signals, the warning signals that your system is losing capacity, that the capacity is dropping before the erosion becomes significant. Because most of the time people notice the shift when it's already been happening for a few weeks, when the erosion is already there. And third, it's installing structures and systems that stabilize your capacity, so the gap between those two states actually narrows. You're not going to eliminate the variation entirely. That's not realistic for women who are wired like you, but governing it in a way that allows for the fade to become shorter, less frequent, less severe, and then you can spend more time in the fire. Because when capacity stabilizes, something important starts to happen. The inconsistent version of you starts to get less and less. And it's not like you fixed your personality, you've changed anything, because that version of you is not your personality. It's just a capacity state. And when you can govern your capacity, then you can spend more time in the states that get you where you want to be. Now, the Capacity Catalyst workshop explains this full model. It goes into detail about specific structures that will help stabilize capacity, It talks about high output, high intensity, and it even gives you an assessment that you can go through to show what your current capacity state is. So if you go and hit the link, you'll be able to access that. It's 100% free. You don't need to put your email in, nothing like that. You can just go and watch it right now, get access to the tools. It's there for you. And then in the next video, I'm going to explain why some women have been called too much and too cold, and why that contradiction is actually a precise nervous system pattern and it's not a character flaw.